in a very real way that Islam saved Jewry there in that part of the world. That if the Muslim army hadn't gone in, then the Jews, as practicing Jews, the faith of Judaism might have been obliterated in a kind of Christian Holocaust in a way, by taking the children away, forcing them to be educated by, I don't know, by monks or nuns or priests, indoctrinated into the Catholic faith. And so you talk about an invasion, but it reminds me of kind of the neocon language, Operation Freedom, which you mentioned at the beginning, invading Iraq, which really was an invasion. But from another point of view, it would have been seen as a liberation. For the Jews and others, it would have been a liberation. And the subsequent history of that country is extraordinary, isn't it, Adnan? The cultural renaissance predating the European renaissance, as if that was the first renaissance, but there was a renaissance in the Iberian Peninsula centuries before of world historical significance. Can you say a bit about why that is such an important part of our world history, what happened in Spain and Portugal?
In fact, Jewish historians have repeatedly claimed that that was the golden age of the House of Israel. That was the Jewish golden age, in particular from the 10th to the 13th century. From the 10th to the 13th century, 950s to 1250s, this was the golden age of the Jewish people in Spain, particularly. And there's a reason for that. But before I get to that, I just want to very quickly highlight what happened after the conquest. After the conquest, there was a period of turmoil, political turmoil, because the Umayyads were removed from power. The Abbasids came to power. Cut the long story short, the Umayyads were able to establish a caliphate in Spain. And Abdurrahman I was the first Umayyad caliph of Spain, independent caliph, independent from the Abbasids. Thenceforth, a civilization of a grand scale was created. Books were produced, libraries were established, streets were paved. Basically, cut the long story short, Cordoba became the most civilized and the most populated city in the world, with a population of 1 million people in the 10th century, when Abdurrahman III was ruling. In the 10th century, in the mid-10th century, when the Umayyads were at their peak, the vizier or the prime minister was a Jewish man called Hasdai ibn Shaprut. This is why Jewish people regard that period as the golden age. This is the period during the Muslim period, at least the peak of the Umayyad Empire. Jewish people produced some of the best scholars, the best poets, the best thinkers, philosophers, you name it. The best Jewish literature ever produced was produced in Islamic Spain, in Al-Andalus, or in the Islamic Iberian Peninsula, when the Muslims were ruling. Muslims ruled parts of Spain from 711 to 1492.
Wow.
And yeah, almost 700 years. And for at least 300 years, Muslims dominated the political and military landscape of the Iberian Peninsula. And during this period, we had immense libraries created at great expense by caliphs, by book collectors, by scholars in Spain. Spain was, you can say, if you were to walk into Cambridge University or Bodleian Library and you see how people are busy reading books and producing researches, Spain was like that under the Muslim period. There is no other comparison I can draw. I mean, Baghdad was like that as well, of course, at that time. One of the largest libraries in the world was in Baghdad, which was destroyed regretfully by the Mongols in 1258, when the entire library of Baghdad, of course, with the city of Baghdad, was completely burnt down or thrown into the river.